Barth and Cerrone Battle. The show that's all Patriots, all football, all year long. The clutch wins, the tough losses, and the game-changing plays. This is the show that has it all covered. Sunday Kickoff. Brought to you in part by Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka. Now, here are Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle.
Welcome into Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff. March 22nd, Alex Barth, Cerrone Battle, Ryan Garvin behind the glass. We got a pretty draft-heavy show for you today. We have turned the corner from free agency, and it is a 5-week sprint at this point until the NFL draft, and we're starting to see the board move a little bit. We hear different things on different prospects. The deep dives are starting to come out. Some of the guys, if it's too good to be true, is it? Some of that. So we'll get into all that here over the next 2 hours. Cerrone, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing pretty good. And yourself, man? What about you?
I'm doing good. It's starting to feel like spring. Like there's something about maybe just because like the last few years, getting into the draft this deep, it's like this is becoming the start of spring for me. Like, it starts getting warm out, right? You pull the shorts out of the closet for the first time. Was at the driving range the other day. It's light out at 7 o'clock, and the draft talk's ramping up. Right? It just feels like it all kind of goes hand in hand, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, man. I mean, in the last few years, we were deep in the draft talk around Christmas time, so this is a whole lot better now.
So I will say we're actually going to kick off a draft-heavy show, though, with some NFL news, and this will tie back into the Patriots draft outlook here in a second as we get into our Restoring the Roster segment, which is brought to you by Blue Sky Restoration Contractors. Water damage at your home or business? Our guys at Blue Sky are ready to respond 24/7. So visit goblusky.com and they'll take care of everything from beginning to end. Blue Sky Restoration, restoring your property and your life for a brighter tomorrow. That's goblusky.com. No E. Go blusky.com, and they'll take care of everything. So we have to start with A.J. Brown because I think this ties into the draft. And the latest developments this week, and obviously the Jalen Waddle trade ties into this as he gets traded to the Denver Broncos. Another one of these wide receiver needy teams to fall. Another wide receiver that goes for maybe more than expected. He was traded along with a fourth for a first, third, and fourth. That was the trade between Miami and Denver. Another wide receiver needy team off the board. I guess we'll start, Cerrone. What was your reaction to that trade? And then we can kind of get to the trickle down to the Patriots.
Well, it was kind of a lot. But I never expected he'd get that kind of return. But, I mean, he's a good player. I mean, you get him in the right system with the right quarterback. He's very explosive. I mean, we've seen that, as Patriot fans enough with him being in a division. And it just signaled to me that's a complete fire sale down in Miami. And I kind of feel bad for, they just picked up a new quarterback and he's coming in and they clean the house.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you're not set up to succeed at all here. But who knows? Sometimes guys come out of nowhere and just start thriving with the young pieces around them. But I think Miami's, I'm going to say in trouble, but they're almost in tank mode right now. But when I saw the return for Waddle, I'm like, man, then Philly's going to want 2 firsts after that because I believe he is a better player than Jalen Waddle. But, it's all about what somebody's willing to spend for a player, and hey, Miami kind of got a haul for him.
My first thought was how pissed is Malik Willis?
Yeah.
And did he kind of know that this was a plan? What is Miami doing, by the way? Like, are you believe in me, Malik Willis, and you want to try to build something around him? By all means. Like, that's not what I would do, but by all means, go for it. You want to sink to the bottom, get a top 5 pick, maybe higher, and what should be a good quarterback draft and try to build like the Patriots just did, go for it. You can't really do both at the same time, which is what it seems like Miami's trying to do, but that should be 2 wins for the Patriots on the schedule this year.
Yeah.
To your point, and look, the Bills screwed up the whole market with that ridiculous DJ Moore trade, but the Eagles can ask more. So you value Brown higher than Waddle.
Yeah, I do it. I mean, I think he's a better football player than Waddle. Waddle's a speedy guy. He was always, I won't say always, he was the number 2 when Tyreek Hill showed up. He's a good player. He has number 1 potential, but he's a guy that kind of, gets dinged up every few games or so. He's there, he's not there, and he's a playmaker one week and then he's not. I mean, it could be all a Miami thing. So who knows? In a whole different system, he might actually thrive. But I think A.J. Brown is a better player at this point than Jalen Waddle.
So for me, I think some of it's fit. I think Brown's a better fit in New England. I actually think Waddle's a better fit in Denver for the way that offense runs. And we've talked a lot about this offseason, paying for potential versus paying for production. A.J. Brown's a more accomplished player in this league. He's also 2 years older.
Yeah.
And Jalen Waddle, you're kind of hoping that, even though he's 27, I think you're hoping to tap into a little bit more. But, you talk about the Eagles maybe wanting 2 first-round picks. I've said this, and I'll stand by it. If the trade's 31 for A.J. Brown and that's the trade, I would do it. I clearly either the Patriots aren't offering that or the Eagles won't take it, because if both sides would do that, the trade would be done.
Yeah.
Where do you think this changes the odds of getting an A.J. Brown deal before June? Because here we are again. There's another wide receiver trade, so we got to talk about it in relation to A.J. Brown, and then A.J. Brown's working out with new Patriots safety Kevin Byard, and I get that they both have roots in Tennessee and all of that, but are we just going to do this every week until June?
Yeah.
Or is there a chance it gets done sooner? And the thing for me, we joked last week, hey, what if it's done and they're just waiting, right? And they have to wait for the cap thing. Well, there's an old saying, you haven't caught the fish till you got it in the boat, right? The Patriots could just be sitting there like, all right, we know we're getting them. What happens if somebody's wide receiver, in OTAs hurts their knee, and now suddenly there's a better offer on the table?
Yeah,
or
so
something
throwing
like
2
that.
first now. Yeah.
Right. So,
and a player.
would you like to see the Patriots show more urgency? Does this erase the opportunity to show more urgency, or are the Eagles just not going to trade him, do you think, until we get to that June 1st date?
I think I don't think it would be a Philly or New England thing at that point. I think what will happen is another team probably would want to jump in, but they know that guy doesn't want to be there. And it's almost like, do we trade for a guy that we know that doesn't want to come? It doesn't matter. I mean, if it's Kansas City, if it's one of his teams going for it now, Kansas City, Buffalo again throwing in something. I don't know what they got left. The Ravens, one of these other elite teams just going for. Seattle needs more bodies right now. If one of these teams just steps in, they know they're getting a guy that really doesn't want to be there, who wanted to be in New England. And do they want to deal with that, or they feel that he'll get over it? I think that part would keep a team from jumping in there, because they know this kid's heart is with Mike Vrabel in New England, and they don't want to they don't want to risk bringing him in and having the same situation that Philly's dealing with the last couple of years, and I think that'll keep a team away.
So I said I was going to tie this all back to the Patriots in the draft, and it's basically, how do you want to see them operate at receiver? And we'll get into some specific names here in a little bit. If you have anybody you want to talk about or just want to weigh in on the Patriots offseason, 617-779-0985. We'll take calls throughout the show as always. Do you want to see the Patriots operate as if they don't have A.J. Brown, even if there's a chance they're going to get him? If they suddenly don't draft a wide receiver, is that, okay, what's going on in Philly, right? Brian Windhorst meme. The other thing that's just worth noting, and then, look, this was the case before this trade, but it just kind of heightens it. I'm just going to throw this out here. You've got the Eagles at 23, who, if they draft a receiver, then all the alarm bells start going off.
Good point.
Which, by the way, they also signed Hollywood Brown this week.
Yeah.
Again, why would they do that? But they needed depth anyway. Like that, he makes sense with A.J. Brown as much as he does if they move him. But you've got the Eagles at 23, might need a receiver. The Browns at 24, they need everything, but that includes a receiver, and that is their second first-round pick. That's the one they got from Jacksonville for trading back last year. You've got the Bills at 26, who we know need a receiver. You've got the Chiefs traded in 29. That's when they traded McDuffie. We know they need a receiver.
Yep.
Now you have Miami at 30, who, by the way, needs a receiver. So how do you feel about that setup for the Patriots, and is receiver a need? How big of a need is it for you with this A.J. Brown thing still lingering?
If you really know you're getting this guy, and you know you got him, you just signed Romeo Doubs, you might not be as hungry at receiver in the first round as if you didn't have him. I mean, I kind of don't want them to go all in on receiver and then sign A.J. Brown, and now it's like, okay, you really could have used one of those edge guys in the first round, unless you feel you can get one in the second. I mean, it's a weird dynamic. Like you just ran off all those teams. Guys can start falling off the board, but look, the guy I won, I think, will be there anyway, and it's Brazel out of Tennessee. I kind of got
That's your guy.
That's my guy. His size and speed are very, very intriguing. But the Tennessee guys, man, they can burn you. But I think if you know you're gonna get this guy, you go out there. I think you need more help at edge. I think you got to get somebody and get after the quarterback early. Get one of these top guys. I know there's a lot of them, but I still would rather them go after edge and address the receiver second round, or even if you have AJ Brown or not, address it late in the draft. But that first round pick, I think, should be spent on one of these edge guys.
But what if a receiver who at one point was supposed to go top 10 ends up on the board at 31 or within range of a realistic trade up? Maybe 31's being a little much. But let's say he gets 26, 27, 28. And, they have the extra fourth. They have the extra sixth. I'm hesitant to say the picks are burning a hole in their pocket. Ty Anderson taught me a lesson on that one. But like they should be moving up in this draft. I wrote something about this week on 985thesportshub.com. You can go check it out. Just kind of the history of the trades made over the last 5 years from their current pick spots, to the point that caller brought up last week that I don't do the research. I do. I didn't forget about that. Like they have the ammunition to move up. So let's say, and I'm kind of with you. Like I don't want to see them overdo it at receiver, because I don't hate Brazel. I don't hate Denzel Boston. I don't know. I think there's better uses of those picks down there. But if a higher receiver were to fall, which it sounds like could maybe potentially happen, should the Patriots be in? Now, granted, there's a reason he's falling, and we have to discuss that as well. We'll get to that next, plus your call, 617-779-0985, off and running on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
More Sunday Kickoff coming up on the Sports Hub.
Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff. The wide receiver I was alluding to before the break there, and this is this time of year, right? Where we're wrapping up. The combine's long gone. We're wrapping up pro days. BC's actually on Monday. I will be there if you want to follow along for coverage at Real Alex Barth on social media. 30 visits are happening as those pro days wrap up. But we get to this point where Dane Brugler will put out the Beast, which is a massive draft preview guide that he does for The Athletic. Bob McGinn every year does a piece where he kind of gets the dirt on some of the prospects, and we start to hear about some of the off-the-field stuff. I always say the hardest part about covering the draft from the outside looking in, I'm not sitting in meetings with these kids. And, I don't have a chance to talk to every one of their coaches. You hear things, certainly, but not at the level the NFL teams do. Was it Nakobe Dean, right, had like a bad shoulder that nobody knew going into the draft. He's supposed to be a first-round pick. He fell to the third. So there's always things like this. And honestly, it's my least favorite part of the pre-draft process because these guys work so hard to get to this point, and then they get celebrated the whole process. This guy's great at this and that, and you watch him play, and then a month before the draft, suddenly you're picking and prodding into their medical history or their personal life, and it's part of it. I'm not saying it's not a part of it. It's just not my favorite part. But Jordan Tyson, this is what's happening now. He was a projected top 10 pick at one point. My favorite receiver in the draft, honestly. Carnell Tate's very good. Don't get me wrong. I just think Jordan Tyson, it's a rare size athleticism combo, not rare size speed. 6'2", 203. The ability with which he runs routes at that size is pretty unbelievable. It's pretty rare. And to add to it, he's got really strong hands, really good at the catch point. He's kind of the exact wide receiver Drake May needs. So again, he was supposed to go top 10, top 15. Him, Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon are kind of the top of this wide receiver class. But you hear this from Dane, and there's been some other rumblings of this that he might not be healthy, and this might be a long-term issue. So a little background on Jordan Tyson. Started off at Colorado. He had a bad ACL tear. He tore all three, ACL, MCL, and PCL, all three ligaments towards the end of that season. So he missed a good amount of time in 2023. He did play 3 games, but that cost him time in 2023 coming back from that. In 2024, he transfers to Arizona State. He has that breakout. He has a big breakout season, but missed the end of the year with a broken collarbone. And then last year he came back, had another really good season when he was on the field, but he kept having these nagging hamstring injuries. I don't think they were all related. I think they were, if I remember correctly, they were kind of different injuries that kept popping up. It just was all with his hamstring. Still played 9 games, but you heard Dane talk about there, and it went around on Twitter. He's not going to participate, in parts of his pro day because the hamstring's still bothering him. And so if you have this guy that has this injury history, is dealing with maybe a long-term hamstring issue, where do you take him? And now is he in play for the Patriots? Does he fall to, 25, 26, 27, 28? Does he get jumped by Omar Cooper or Denzel Boston? That suddenly puts him further down the board. I might still take the shot if I'm the Patriots. Just because of the talent. I get nervous about these kind of players. I do. At a certain talent level, it's worth it to me. Where are you at with Jordan Tyson? Would you take him at 31? Would you trade up for him? And I kind of give you the comp of what that trade might be. Where do you stand on Jordan Tyson?
He's a great player. Yeah, I think he was the best wide receiver in the country. I think he's one of the best football players in the country when he's out on the field. He was a guy every week that was going viral on Twitter, where everybody retweeting stuff he was doing, and it's like, this kid's unbelievable. There were times where they just couldn't stop him. He is a playmaker. He gets in the end zone. He's like with Chris Carter back in the day. I'm just here to catch touchdowns. That's what he is. He's a major playmaker, and you put him with a guy like Drake May, and he could light it up when he's out on the field. I think you have to take swings with some of these guys in the draft. There's guys that can be 100% healthy, but you don't know how they are off the field. You know how they're consistently making the right plays, making the right decisions. My point is, all these guys have something that isn't perfect. If they were perfect, they'd all be top 5 players, top 5 caliber players. They all have something. It could be an injury, it could be whatever. some guys think, hey, if I get him in here with my doctors, I can get him on the right track. Maybe he feels that I don't have to do anything because it's going to make me slide in the draft, so they don't participate in the combine, the pro days, or whatever it may be. But the end game clips that we've seen of this kid in the film of him in action, he is the best receiver in the draft. And if he's sitting there and you're at 31 or he's at somebody's there at 28, he's still there, and you want to jump somebody, if you're going to do it with a receiver, I take a chance. I absolutely would take a chance because if you hit on him, you got something there for a long time. And here's the thing with A.J. Brown. If you get this kid, do you call Philly and say, never mind? And keep the picks?
I think they can both. I think you get them both on the field. So I have another player for that one.
Okay.
But I just want to add on Jordan Tyson real quick because I can hear people doing it in their cars or at home and they're listening. Yes, he's a big wide receiver from Arizona State. Don't do that thing. Don't helmet scout. Different player. Different player than N'Keal Harry. That's not to say he's automatically going to pan out.
No,
but if he doesn't work out, it's going to be for different reasons than why N'Keal Harry didn't work out. There's always a chance a player's not going to work out.
This dude's a playmaker.
N'Keal Harry Brandon Ayuk was the better receiver on those Arizona State teams. Like Jordan, you watch Jordan Tyson, and he just looks he looks like an NFL player when you watch him.
He's a video game. It was too easy for him.
Yeah, he's tremendous. I would make the move. I would even trade up. You're probably talking about, if you trade 31, 125, and one of those sixths, that probably gets you up to about. So funny enough, that's kind of what the trade was. I wrote this on 98.5 thesportshub.com this week, going back to the history of trades. And as I'm going through, I'm like, oh, which trades would I want the Patriots to make? Like the history of 31st pick, right? So, for instance, in 2025, the Chiefs traded 31 for 32 and 164. I'm good on the Patriots making that pick. That's fine. Another trade up, 32, 34, and 66 for 12 and 46. I don't need the Patriots moving up to 12, and they don't have the ammunition to do it.
Yeah.
30 and 36 for 126. 30 and 136 for 26 in 2020. That was the Packers moving up to get Jordan Love. If you're telling me it's 31 and 125 to get up to 26, I would probably do that, but that was the COVID year. Everything was kind of weird and different. Here's the two that interest me. The 49ers traded 31, this is in 2020. So again, this is different because it's the COVID year. The scouting was all messed up. The Niners traded 31, 117, and 176 to move up to 25. And that was actually moving up for Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
The Patriots have the assets. It would be 31, 125, and 171 would be the equivalent of that. There's another one, and Cerrone, you tell me if this sounds familiar. The Chiefs traded 29, 94. Do you know what this is already?
Go ahead. Yeah.
29, 194, and 121 to the Patriots for 21.
Yeah.
That was the Cole Strange trade to get McDuffie. Like that, now you're giving up a top 100, but like certainly the 31, 117, and 176 to go up to 25, if Tyson falls that far, I would do it.
Yeah, I'd do it. And one of the big reasons I would do it, I'm just sitting here looking at the order.
Yeah. Yeah, who's there at 26?
I don't want Buffalo. I don't want this kid in my division twice. I don't want to see him twice with Josh Allen. I don't want to see him twice with Josh Allen. I don't want him in Denver now with the guys that they have, because Denver's sitting there at that 30. You know what I'm saying? So there's teams you're going to be dealing with. And another one here, we looked at Buffalo. Imagine Houston with a weapon on offense, another weapon. You see what I'm saying? You got they got one great receiver, one great offensive player on that team, and a bunch of guys who just can't stay healthy around.
Did you say Kansas City too?
No, I didn't even mention Kansas City. I mean Buffalo, Houston, and Denver. Yeah, I mean, that's right. They have the Rams pick. So I mean, those are teams that you're gonna have to compete with to get back to the Super Bowl. And if this kid is who we think he is, I might leapfrog him just so he doesn't land in those positions too.
So one more wide receiver while we're on this topic that I've seen his name come up. Patriots fan. I did the mock draft mailbag on Monday. That's, if you missed it, it's like the mailbag I do during the year where I answer questions, but instead of answering questions, people tweet me their mock drafts, and I respond to them. And thank you to everybody who sent them in. We'll do another one in a couple of weeks. I space them out every few weeks during the pre-draft. So if you missed that one, we'll do another. But a lot of people A lot of Patriots fans had Chris Bell in the second round for the Patriots, some trading up, which they'll probably need to do. Chris Bell's a wide receiver from Louisville. He was
player.
During the season, as the Patriots kind of making their run, and okay, they're not, this was my whole thing. Jordan Tyson was kind of my guy going in the fall, and then the Patriots obviously were much better than we expected. And so as that dream started to die out, it was like, oh, Chris Bell at Louisville, he was my pound the table at 31 if he's there, print the card, sprint it up, and then he tears his ACL the last week of the season. Not only did he tear his ACL the last week of the season, he didn't have the surgery till the second week in December, according to ESPN. So this is not, he is also going to be a rookie. So this is not Stephon Diggs, a proven multi-time 1,000-yard NFL receiver coming back from an ACL he tore around Halloween. This is a rookie. He's not going to be on the field for the spring.
Yep.
I guess he said at the combine he plans on being on the field at training camp, which is good for him. But obviously he's going to say that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But boy, can he play 6'2", 222, legit game-breaking speed.
Physical
Receiver, can box guys out. Ironically, the comp for him, we didn't do a comp for Jordan Tyson. It's kind of hard to do a comp for Jordan Tyson without getting ridiculous. The comp for Chris Bell is easy for me, and it's kind of ironic at this point. It's A.J. Brown, like prime A.J. Brown. That's what you're hoping to get when you draft him. But this is a guy that, you're banking on a lot of explosiveness, but he's coming off the ACL tear. We know how crucial those spring and summer practices are for rookie wide receivers in their development. He's not going to get to do that. He might not even be on the field to start the season. But with what he showed, the projections are, he's going to go probably top 50 or right around the top 50. Maybe he dips into the 50s. Let's say they go edge in the first round or tackle or whatever.
You still need that receiver.
Where are you at with Chris Bell? Would you take Chris Bell?
He's tough. And I kind of watched him, I would say by accident, just out hanging out with the family, and the game was on, and it was, let's see if Miami's, legit at the time. And it's like, yo, who's this dude destroying Miami? But we couldn't hear anything. We're just looking at it on the screen, and my sons are like, yo, this dude is good. And he lit them up, but he took a lot of big shots because he plays around the middle of the field. And I think somebody like Josh McDaniels would absolutely love a guy that just likes to hang around the middle of the field like that and make plays. He'd be a great fit for this team. But that knee injury might scare a lot of people away. But the Patriots, they just coming off seeing a guy in their 30s with the injury, like you mentioned with Diggs, and he played a full season for them. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, didn't the same thing happen to Booty at LSU?
No,
didn't he have a similar injury?
No, he hurt his ankle. I think he
it was an ankle.
It,
okay,
and then he ran the 40 on it. That was he could still move. My thing with Bell, it's so what's tougher? A guy coming back for torn ACL at age 30, but he's been in the league. He's proven he can perform in the league. He knows what he's doing. Versus a guy who's younger and has more physical ability to rely on. But coming back from a torn ACL is an adjustment. Making the jump from college to the pros. And by the way, it's not like he was in the SEC.
Right.
He's in the AC. He's in a weak ACC. So that Miami game holds a lot of weight.
Yeah, I think he only played two good team. You know what I'm saying? Like elite level team.
Every week he's going to see the best corner he's ever seen.
Yeah.
And working on that while you're coming back from the ACL without. And Diggs, by the way, at training camp. Bell might, if he has training camp, he's probably not going to have all of it. What's a tougher adjustment? I am more. There's also just other wide receivers in that range. Chris Bell worries me a little more than Jordan Tyson. Jordan Tyson I'm in on. I really like Chris Bell. And given the Patriots' history of developing wide receivers and all of that, I let somebody else. I will root for him happily on another team. That one makes me nervous a little bit.
Do you think there's a chance he slides beyond the second round? And he's still sitting there a little later? If he falls
that far,
third, fourth round?
Look, if he's there at 125, by all means. Even at 96, honestly, I might. But, if he falls that far, what does that tell you about what the team saw when they looked into his knee?
That's true, yeah.
So now it's
maybe he's really
right.
If he loses that burst and that speed, which makes him explosive, then what are we getting here? What kind of player is he going to be? And, that could scare guys off. I mean, he's a healthy player. He's a great player. I think he'd be a great fit. But the injuries, and you're starting to hear this with a lot of guys were really banged up last year. But Tyson, I think, obviously, if Tyson's there, you obviously take him. I think his injuries, hamstrings, whatever you can deal with.
Right.
But ACL injury, like you said, he's not going to get the development. You're not going to get him into camp. You're kind of redshirting him as a professional. When you get him in, you kind of know he's not going to get on the field in 2026. And are you willing to do that? With the current roster that you have.
I think ultimately, if they took him, I don't think I'd be upset because I see the upside. I see the picture. But it's like, oh boy, this is a big time swing. This is a big. Get ready to hear a lot of Malcolm.
I was
Mitchell
about to
comps.
say,
yeah.
The media pressure, the questions, the fans. Are we gonna just dog them for blowing another receiver, blowing another second round pick on a guy? Will they hear the end of it with this one if he doesn't get on the field at all? And it's not the same player when he finally does get on the field because he's mentally going through it. So it's a lot of questions with that. But I think if he's there in third. Yeah,
he's there in the third. Yeah, because again, I see the upside, and the upside's tremendous. But
yeah,
and I'll tell you, if he didn't tear his ACL, I'd be saying the only reason I don't take him at 31 because he's not on the board. To be fair, so
yeah.
617-779-0985 to your calls right after this on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
Stay tuned for more Sunday Kickoff on the Sports Hub.
Hey, small business owners, listen up.
about draft philosophy with the New England Patriots.
Okay.
But I just wanted to chime in on the receivers real quick first, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think they should draft the next A.J. Brown. I don't think they should trade for this one. Just a lot of assets versus one pick and developing the guy. And then you guys talked about Tyson. Dude, the body control on that guy is ridiculous. I don't know if you guys saw the play versus Texas State this year. Might be the best throw and catch I've ever seen. Like between Levitt throwing it off his feet, it was a jump throw. Tyson made a ridiculous catch, stayed on his feet, then hurdled the defender and dove for a touchdown. It was just jaw dropping. But with him, I heard that I've heard talk that strength is an issue with him, and that like maybe dedication in the weight room is a thing, and then speculation that perhaps that's related to the string of injuries. So I don't know. I'm not a doctor. That's just what I heard talk about. But like regarding the draft philosophy thing, it's kind of a multifaceted question. Do you or do we or whatever get all of the draft visit news from the Patriots? Like, are there visits that they get in that they're not reported, or are they all?
There have been in the past. I'll just cut real quick if it helps inform the rest of the question. There have been in the past. Tyquan Thornton was one that we didn't hear about till after the draft that they'd met with him.
Okay, because like one that rose to mind with me is like I was looking at the 2025 pre-draft meetings listed on 98.5 website there.
Yeah.
And I didn't see one with Craig Woodson. And I had heard a scout give an interview during the combine this year who said they had fell in love with Woodson at the combine. So my question, I guess, with you guys is how important is it, do you think, for this team to like visit personally in person with someone? Because you hear the scouts, like the scouting, like Alonzo and AJ Highsmith did an interview this year and they talked about character and stuff. And it's like, I'm an old school guy, but it's pretty hard to like determine a man's character without like looking him in the eyes and shaking his hand, you know?
Yeah.
And it seems like to me last year's draft philosophy was early with the first 4 or 5 guys, you know, Campbell, Henderson, Williams, Wilson, Woodson, maybe they took team fits and they kind of took swings on traits later, guys like Farmer, Swinson, Marcus Bryant, or, you know, special teams, obviously. But if they do that this year, do you think they could target a wide receiver there, someone like a Colby Young or Jeff Caldwell or Caleb Douglas, those traits guys, you know, where it's, and then like trading up to second or third, trade up from the second or third, not the first.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
I'm with you, Randy. Thanks for the call. I have a mock draft coming tomorrow, and I kind of discuss do you trade up? Do you move for the same assets? Would you rather move up 5 spots in the second or like 10 or 12 in the third? And it's an interesting debate. It's an interesting question. Just point about the meetings. The combine ones are tough because there's
a lot going on.
Right. There's all these people at the podium, and it's or there might be, you know, if the projected top 5 pick is speaking in the same group with all these other guys, maybe nobody's over there, nobody's asking who we met with. So the combine ones are tough. And the other thing is, like, teams generally talk to everybody. If they're at like the Senior Bowl, the Shrine Bowl, not all 2 meetings are the same. I really look at the top 30s. Look, that definitely helps in terms of understanding character. I think coaches have college coaches that they trust, and this guy's going to give me a fair evaluation. So there's that point when it comes to injuries as well. As for a, you know, toolsy, traitsy receiver late, there's definitely some guys that fit the mold. He mentions Jeff Caldwell. That's the guy. 6'5", ran in the 4.3s with a 40-inch vertical. Just
incredible.
Tested out of his mind, but he's incredibly raw. He's barely played any football. So he only had 30-something catches last year with all that size and athleticism. 6'5", 216, 4'3", 140, 42-inch vertical over 11-foot broad. You know, I'm always for taking traits guys late on day 3. I mean, we all remember how into the Joe Milton thing I was. That's kind of what that is. But you also have to remember, like, especially where Caldwell's probably going to go. If you tell me Caldwell's there with one of those 4, 6-round picks they have, by all means. You want Caldwell, you might have to take him at 131 or trade back from 131 or up from 171. That's a guy that you're probably looking at making the team. If we look at their wide receiver room, Cerrone, and that can't be their only wide receiver addition. They got to add somebody on top of that, whether it's trading for A.J. Brown, whether it's taking somebody earlier in the draft. Right.
And you're operating out of the fact that they don't have A.J. Brown. This as is right now. Yeah.
So this is you have Booty, Dobbs, Hollins, Kai Williams, Pop Douglas, Efton Chisholm. I know some people are 50-50 on Douglas and Chisholm, but at the very least, you got 5 guys there.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to add A.J. Brown or a higher draft pick, that's 6. Now, maybe if you trade for A.J. Brown like you trade Kayshon Boutte because the Eagles want a player back. But they don't really need to do the volume thing at receiver. They've built out a solid core of that room. It's just getting somebody at the top. So I'm all for drafting a traits receiver late. Like, you can sell me on a traits player late in any draft. That is what those picks are for. Special teams and freak traits. But for where a guy like Caldwell is going to go, I don't remember who the other player he said was, but I think he was kind of higher up too. You're drafting somebody there, they got to have a path to make the team, and I'm not sure that guy's going to have a path. Like, at that point, give me Berrien Brown in the 7th round, or Tyron Montgomery, the kid from John Carroll, or somebody like that. So that's where I'm at with it.
And that's what I kind of mentioned to you in the chat there. It's like, okay, you sign one of these guys. All right, who's the odd man out? Someone's got to go because you can't, everybody get this receiver, get that receiver, get this receiver. Okay, they had a decent room last year. They're only going to have a certain amount of guys that are going to be active every week. How many receivers do you want this team to take? And if you keep adding them, someone's going to have to go. And who are you willing to get rid of? And do you think this rookie, whoever this kid may be, whoever it is going to be better than what you already have there? And are you giving up on Kyle Williams? Are you giving up on Efton Chisholm? After just a season of them kind of watching, who's going to go? Somebody has to go if you keep adding receivers to this team. And I think a lot of people kind of overlooking that part of it.
Let's go to Tony in Canada. Tony.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Just listening to the show here. As soon as I heard about A.J. Brown potentially coming to the Patriots, I was screaming yes. Great. It depends, though, I guess, what day you asked me whether we should get him or not. Now I'm at no. It's hard to say. It's really important, obviously. I think what the Pats need to do is to go back to when Vrabel was first hired. And, it's wants over needs. What do we need more? Do we need that wide receiver that runs down the field, or do we have other areas of need that are more so important? But I think about when we drafted, I think in 2019, N'Keal Harry.
Yeah. And
we passed up on A.J. Brown and Metcalf and some others. It's important. I wonder if we had picked A.J. Brown then, whether Tom Brady would still be with the Patriots or would have retired a Patriot. It's really important. But I think long-term, how it goes is, what are our needs? I heard a lot that we didn't have enough depth in our team. So I think right now where I'm at, I would rather we focus on those areas of need, the line, linebackers, edge rushers, this kind of thing. I'll listen to the rest of the show. Go Pats.
Thanks for the call, Tony. Go Pats. See, so the thing is with that, and I don't entirely disagree with you, but those, like you mentioned, those are depth needs, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't need to use the first-round pick on a depth need. Now, edge might be the one that's more than depth, and that's the debate. And I think what plays into it is that's a deeper position. So it's not deep wide receiver draft.
Yeah.
Right? I think you can get maybe not a day one, but like a relatively early year one starting edge rusher on day 2 of this draft.
Yeah.
I don't think you can say that about wide receiver.
Yeah.
So some of it is you gotta play the values and you've got to play the board. I just want to go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think you have to come out of this draft in the first 2 rounds with an edge. One of those 2 picks has to be an edge. If you dip it down the 3rd or 4th round for an edge, you missed out. I think you gotta address that need. I think that's to the caller's point. I think that's a bigger need than a receiver.
Yeah.
I think you need an edge to really solidify that defense. Tougher schedule, better quarterbacks, all those things. You're gonna have to get after the quarterback, and it makes it easy on everybody else. And I think this we've talked about it every week. One of the better drafts when it comes to edge rushers, and you got to come away with one of those elite guys in the first 2 rounds of this draft before you address anything else on this team.
Deshaun in Virginia, what do you got?
Hello, guys. How you guys going?
Good. How's it going?
Good. I just want to piggyback off what you guys just said, because some people have a knack for like talking about what we should like focus on as far as like needs or whatever. But I feel like you should actually get to pick the best player possible. That's why my just philosophy actually would be is that if another receiver you guys haven't talked about is Deshaun Stribling. I mean, I like his size at 6'2" and running a 4.3. He would be another guy I think you could probably get later or whatever. But I also would double dip in the next 2 rounds as far as that edge. and stuff like that. So I feel like that this draft is deep enough for you to, double dip later on and, and get those edge guys or whatever. But, I think that even when we do get that receiver or whatever, I wouldn't stop there because I was still trying to go ahead and pursue A.J. Brown. I feel like the more weapons you have, the more the merrier. That's the way I feel about it.
That's all
I have to say.
Thanks for calling, John. We're actually going to get to Stribling later in the show. His name was in the rundown. We're going to do a fun segment a little bit, but before we get the break here, Dean in Shrewsbury. Dean.
Hey, Barth, I think it was you who said that you would trade a first-round pick and a day 3 pick for A.J. Brown. Has that changed since the other deals for wide receivers? And if you did that deal, would you rather have the picks coming from this draft or next year's draft? There's a time value of money, so waiting a year would make the picks less valuable. But that draft is more stacked, and we might get a higher pick in that. We should get a higher pick in that draft because our record's probably not going to be as good because our schedule's not as easy this year.
Yeah, Dean, you're exactly right. I'd give up if it's 31 and one of those fourths for A.J. Brown. I'd probably do that. I'd much rather trade the picks this year. Once the draft passes, I'm no longer I'm telling Howie Roseman, if I'm the Patriots, the first round pick's off the table. I'm not trading an unknown 2027 pick, first round pick for A.J. Brown. If it's a second and a fourth, if it's like the Diggs from Houston or from Buffalo to Houston trade, I would do that with 27 picks.
Okay, I agree completely.
Perfect. Love it. Thanks for the call, Dean. We got to hit the break because there is something I want to get to before we get to the headlines. I had a little fun watching some football yesterday in March. It was not the UFL. We'll hit on that next. Plus, if you guys want to keep calling, 617-779-0985. Plenty more to come here on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
More Sunday Kickoff is on the way on the Sports Hub.
Sunday Kickoff. So they did this flag football tournament thing yesterday in LA. It was 2 teams of current retired NFL players, a couple like influencers, and then the Team USA flag football team. And I don't know if there was like a real purpose for it. I think in theory it was, this debate. Remember when they announced flag football was coming back to the Olympics? Everybody was talking about the NFL guys, and the actual flag guys took offense to that. And they beat the actual flag guys beat down the NFL teams pretty good. But the one NFL guy that really showed up, and the quarterbacks, by the way, were Tom Brady, and then Joe Burrow,
yeah,
Jalen Hurts, and Jaden Daniels. I believe was it, right?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
3 of them, well, Jaden Daniels, they really only used as like a receiver. But Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow.
One deep ball or something like that.
Yeah.
One end-to-end pass.
Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow, not great. Both had pick sixes. Like the flag guys kind of got to him. And then you have Brady, who they only let throw like 5 passes, but he comes in on 4th down, 4th and goal from like the 20. Faces a rusher, and they're playing the flag guys. So this is not, NFL players aren't used to grabbing a flag. No, this is like world champion flag football players. Free rusher at him, sidesteps him, resets his feet, loads up, back corner of the end zone, absolute dot to Stephon Diggs of all people. And it's like, oh my goodness. He can still do that. I geeked out. I'm not going to lie. I geeked out. I can't get enough of watching it. It's so crisp. It's so smooth. It's so clean. Let him quarterback Team USA in the Olympics. Let him do it. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, I think, and those shout out to the guys, the USA guys.
Yeah, we're going to get to them in a second.
They looked more athletic than NFL players. Some of them were making some incredible plays, like to avoid, getting the flag snatched. And it was like, wait, what? He wasn't on the ground? Like, it was unbelievable stuff. But Tom Brady, he goes to show. And I mean, with these combines and the way we look at quarterbacks and the way we evaluate them, or people scout them, whatever, it goes to show technique, form, and his mental capacity is basically all you need. And if you're right upstairs and you got the right mechanics, you can dominate in this league for a really long time. 40 times, the shuttle, 3 cone drills, all that really didn't matter when the guy is that he just locked into finding the open receiver. It wasn't the fact that he sidestepped that guy. He never took his eyes off the back of the end zone when he did it. When you see the replay, he never looks at the guy.
Looking downfield the whole time.
The whole time. He makes an accurate throw in the back of the end zone like it was nothing. And it's like, come on, man. It's ridiculous. And I think it was a cool moment for the Team USA guys to go against Tom Brady and see that in person. Like, he's just different. He's different than everybody else.
So for the Olympics, though, because like the NFL, they're you don't realize how stiff they are, and they're not stiff like compared to the average person, but the flag guys are much smaller, so they're naturally quicker.
Yeah.
I get the boost that sending the NFL guys to the Olympics would have. It would, I think a lot of people would watch it a lot closer, and it'd be a cool moment. Look, we'd still probably win gold anyway. But those flag guys are another level, man. They are. It is a different sport. Who should go to the Olympics?
I think you got the USA guys. I think they earn the right to go. I think they absolutely earn their right to go. Now, would it be cool to have Tom Brady go as their quarterback? Yeah, I think that'd be fantastic. But I wouldn't want to take away from their quarterback and the guy that they used to get there. But I think they can still win gold. But I think they've earned the right to send the Team USA guys over professionals. I get everybody wants to be a part of it, but these guys have been in it, been through the grind, and they just understand it and play it in a different way. And some of the stuff they were doing is just NFL guys aren't trained to play that kind of football. And I think these guys are just on another level.
And good for them, because remember, they Doucette, the quarterback, Darryl Doucette, right, talked a lot of smack when everybody was saying, so just send the NFL guys. Who cares about the flag guys? And who's this guy that's talking about trash? No, I can do it so much better than them. Oh, they can. Turns out they can. They showed up. Good for them. But that was it was just cool seeing Brady do that, man. I didn't watch, I kind of had it on secondary to the basketball games, but when I saw Brady come on the field, take a snap, I'm like, all right.
Oh, did you see him hit Gronk in the back of the end zone?
And then, that was a great throw to Gronk. And Gronk, I think, pulled a hammy or something. He didn't play a ton, but Brady you give him like 2 weeks to prepare. You put him in the NFL. He's top quarterback?
Now. Oh, geez. With a full offseason?
Yeah, sure. Give him the full
Like
off.
right now, if he just went right now and said, I'm signing
I had a debate with friends during the season before Rivers came back. Like, if you gave Tom Brady 2 weeks, he'd be a top quarterback in the NFL with like an average roster. But yeah, let's say you gave him the whole offseason, you put him on an average roster, he's a top quarterback at age 48.
Oh, Jesus, man. You, at this point, man, he's at least 10.
Yeah.
At least. Easily. And you give him a right roster, you might be in trouble.
Father Time's got nothing on him. We're late. We got to hit the headlines. We'll come back. More draft talk, plus your calls here on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
From the Town Fair Tire Studio, the game is on the Sports Hub.
Goes to the backhand and score! Two-hand slam!
Boston's home for sports.
I love this team!
98.5, the Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines, presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
The Bruins scored 3 times in the third period yesterday to pick up a big win over the Detroit Red Wings 4-2. 3 assists in the game for Morgan Geekie. Meanwhile, Jeremy Swayman, 41 saves in the win. The Celtics are in action tonight. They host the Minnesota Timberwolves. Seas enter the day 4 games behind the Detroit Pistons for first place in the Eastern Conference. The Red Sox are in spring training action today against the Pirates. It's their final weekend of spring training. 2 more games after today, Monday and Tuesday against the Twins, and then they gear up for opening day at the Cincinnati Reds on Thursday. The New England Revolution fell 3-1 to St. Louis City SC last night. And in March Madness, only one upset yesterday with 11-seed Texas beating 3-seed Gonzaga. Looking ahead to today's slate as the first weekend comes to a close, it's Miami and Purdue at 12:10 to tip things off. Some other notable games later today, a 4-5 matchup between Kansas and St. John's at 5:15. 1-seed Florida takes on 9-seed Iowa at 7:10. And UConn with a late tip at 8:45. The 2nd-seed Huskies will be taking on 7th-seed UCLA. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Super Service Today. Super Service Today has the rapid snow melt cause your basement to take on water. Call Super Service today for an immediate basement protection inspection. Their talented technicians will find a cost-effective solution to keep your home safe and your basement dry, guaranteed day or night and always done right. Contact superservicetoday.com. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 10 o'clock.
The Sports Hub. 3 legendary franchises on one legendary radio station. It's the Sports Hub. Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle are here, talking football every Sunday morning with the insiders and with you. It's Sunday Kickoff on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Second down play for Smith. Under pressure and wrapped and thrown down by Harold Landry. Well, there's a Patriot free agent who's having a great debut in New England. The former Boston College star who played for Mike Vrabel in Tennessee. In on another sack, all by his lonesome.
He looks good.
He's got 2.5 sacks.
Headline, the way this thing's written. That was a Harold Landry highlight. We had to go back. It's back from week 1, and people forget how good he was to start the season.
Yeah.
The reason I play that, we talked a lot about receivers in the first hour of the show and kind of where they're at that position. And, okay, well, what's the argument against taking wide receiver high if somebody falls? And we've kind of touched on it, and I want to dig into it a little deeper, edge is a bigger need. I think edge is the one thing you could argue is a bigger immediate need. Right tackle. Thank you, Bob. Right tackle is a need, but in theory, they can get by another year. They still have Morgan Moses. That's a luxury need. It's a high-level luxury need, but it's by definition a luxury need. Tight end, kind of the same thing. Linebacker, they have starters at these positions. There's some older starters, or there may be guys you can upgrade on. Edge is the one where it's a really good edge class. And yeah, you can wait till the second round and get a good player, but think how good the first round players are. So I just kind of wanted to reset the position here, Cerrone. They signed Draymond Jones. They have Harold Landry coming back off the injury. And then it kind of falls off a little bit.
Yeah.
Elijah Ponder showed some flashes last year. Credit to him for that.
Mm-hmm.
But he only played a little over 200 snaps. Like, he's a projection. Braden Swinson, they used a draft pick on. We haven't really seen much from him. They signed Jesse Luketa in free agency, who is they signed him in free agency before free agency began. He'll compete mainly for a special team spot. He plays the position. He's had, I think, an NFL sack or two in his career in 4 years, but, I don't want to disrespect him and leave it off, but he's not somebody you're banking on really for anything. So a lot of this hinges on, like, if it's Landry and Draymond Jones and Elijah Ponder, that's a fine rotation. You still probably need to add somebody, but that's banking on Landry being healthy. And I think that really is where this hinges on, right? How much of a need is this position? They brought Landry back. The contract kind of meant they had to. We know he's one of Mike Vrabel's guys. Where are you at with Harold Landry in the position as a whole?
For Landry. Landry's a good football player. He was on track to have a monster season last year until the injuries started catching up with him. But I think that's the problem. It's not his game or his talent. It's just being able to stay on the field and stay healthy. And it just seemed like the last month and a half of the season, he just couldn't get right. And early on, it looked like he was on pace to have double-digit sacks. He probably would have been well above 10 sacks if he would have kept rolling. But just being able to stay healthy. And as far as that position, if Landry's healthy 100%, I think you can get an edge in the second, third round. But to me, I think you have to address it early and capitalize on what is the strength of this draft, and that's edge. You have to get one of these guys, and every time you refresh your phone, the draft board seems to change. Who's the best and who's top 10, who's falling out. To me, it's not because the guys are bad. It's because everybody thinks they're all good. So it's about need and fit. Some of these guys are bigger, edge setters. Some are fast. Some are just freak athletes. You got the kid at Missouri who's just freaking every possible way.
Yeah.
But I think he plays a little too fired up sometimes. It's just guys, they're all over the place. But I think you have to come away with some of these guys. One of them, if not multiple, like one of the callers said, you can double up on a couple of these guys and really, build your line for the future. But I think you have to address edge on this team. If it's one of those positions, if you get it right, it puts your defense in a whole nother level. You're already good, but I think this makes you an elite defense if you nail this draft pick.
On the double up thing, for what it's worth, I'm not against it in theory. It's a really good edge class at the top. Not a lot of depth. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of good. Like, if you're doubling up late, there's a couple guys, but I don't love the names. I will say some of the day two guys, I'm really talking myself into. And I'll give you two in particular. Gabe Akis from Illinois. Mm-hmm. As much as they preach violence, how much have we heard them use that word violence?
Yeah.
For the defense. This guy, violent, wrestling background. I mean, he's just a bully at 260 pounds, and he constantly working his way to the football. He goes for the football when he gets there. I think 6 forced fumbles the last 2 years total. Just and supposedly on top of that, like, I want to say, just big, mean freak on the edge. Team captain last year. You hear about him being great in the locker room, all of that. He did the intangible boxes, everything you hear about him, check. He's supposed to go like late second round. And then Malachi Lawrence from UCF is like a high-level athlete. And he's super quick, super explosive. It's a little more raw, but boy, there's a lot of tools there to work with. And those are both guys that maybe they get to 63, maybe you trade up a little bit, but a couple of guys that looking more into it the last couple of weeks. Akis I've liked the whole time. I'm kind of surprised Akis isn't getting more first-round buzz. But for where he's projected, if the Patriots can get him, like, I would love to see him here. I think he's a tremendous fit for what their defense, not just what they want their edge rushers to do, but the mentality, the overall makeup. I think he's a tremendous example of what they want their defense to be all about.
And okay, that was a question I was going to ask you. What kind of guy do you think they want the most? Do you think they want the athletic, get after the quarterback, just get upfield type of guy? Or do you think they want the heavier edge setter, kind of, I'm not trying to get a good comp here, but just one of the heavier guys you see. Yes. Do they want a bigger guy out there that can set the edge? Or are we overreacting to the way the last game of the season went with the way Kenneth Walker was running and kind of, are we overreacting to that, or do they still need that up the field guy that just gets after the quarterback, the super athletic freak on the outside?
So should they want maybe the bigger, more physical run-stopping edge setter? Like there's an argument for that to be a priority because of the Super Bowl, like you mentioned. Mm-hmm. I'm going to read to you, though, what Elliott Wolf said at the Combine when he was asked what he looks for most at an edge rusher. Quote, pass rush, speed, and violence, explosiveness, first-step quickness, the ability to win in multiple ways. You can't just be a run-around-the-hoop guy at this level. There's some guys in college that are able to be successful that way, but you need different things in your toolbox. I think the guys that can rush with power are maybe more of a premium. The guys that are athletic and can rush with power, everybody's looking for pass rushers in the league. They want a guy that's going to pin his ears back and go.
Okay.
And I think how he does that, they're maybe more flexible on. And again, that would be the difference. Akis, he's got a little bit of a toolbox, but he just wants to run through your face. And the reality is he's big enough and strong enough that should translate in the NFL. Maybe not to the rate it did in college at first, but I think he can be a bully rusher in the NFL. Lawrence is more, he's got a bunch of moves and he's going to be quick and he's going to do the, beat you with his feet, and he's got good hands and things like that, but he's not as big or as powerful. But they're both they both want to get to the quarterback. Akis can stop the run, but it's not his priority. Lawrence is a pass rusher, purely. That's what they want, I think.
Yeah.
And how they go about it, I think, is less they want more the mentality than the skill set. If you're getting to the quarterback, whatever your skill set is to do that, they might prefer some things to others, but they want the guy that's going to be aggressive and get to the quarterback mentally.
So
first.
Someone like a Zion Young who seems to be too aggressive might be a guy they could.
They might not be worried about being too aggressive.
Exactly. That's my point. We will overlook that as long as you're playing, playing the right way here.
So there you go.
I'm sorry about that. Good.
No, you're good. 617-779-0985, the kind of edge rushers they're looking for. We are going to do in a little bit. I do this. This is classic draft talk, but I want to bring it out because I saw you were getting hyped about some prospects this week on Twitter. I was diving deep into some day 3 guys this week and had some fun with that apparently the Patriots are diving into too. We're going to do a My Guy segment. So this is, I don't want to hear about players in the top 50, the guys further down the board that you like. We're going to share some of ours. If you want to jump in for that, 617-779-0985 as well. We'll get to your calls after this here on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
More Sunday Kickoff coming up on the Sports Hub.
Hey, spring can be a tricky season weather-wise, but...
But if you have a specific tight end, or I should say it could be a tight end, if you have a specific draft prospect you want to ask me about or ask Cerrone about, call in. This is your chance. We're basically going to open the phones for name a guy talk here for the next 35 minutes, 617-779-0985. But Cerrone, there's somebody you got excited about watching this week, Justin Jolie from NC State.
Yeah, I've watched him just about every game he's played at State. Just the games that are on TV here. So got to see him play a lot. I think NC State's offense was pretty good overall this year with Smothers in the backfield, Bailey at quarterback, and, of course, Jolie on the outside. And there's a couple kids at receiver, Rogers, a couple other guys that my kids kind of know, so that's why I was kind of watching them. But Justin Jolie, I think, is fantastic. I think he's a fantastic tight end. Not the run blocking type tight end. He's a pass catcher, kind of basketball player. As I mentioned before, very shifty. Not saying he's Antonio Gates good. He's that type of tight end. Very shifty. He's not the big, giant tight end, but he's very shifty, very nimble, great hands, goes after the ball. Had a Madden-esque play this year where he got hurt and he kind of hobbled into the end zone. He ran limping about 30 yards up the sidelines and still scored, like the old 09 Maddens. But, Justin Jolie is a fantastic player. I think he'd be a good pickup for Drake May and would be a dynamic player with a great quarterback. Again, his size and his blocking ability might keep him from being a high draft pick, but ball skills and being able to get after it as a tight end, he's one of my favorites, and I got a chance to see him play a lot of ball. So I'd be really thrilled if they could find a way to snag Jolie late in this draft.
So I think he's a fun pass-catching tight end. The thing with me, and I'm still on this, not much of a blocker.
No, not at all.
I still want to see them at a blocking tight end. He, to me, is a big slot receiver. I put him, he's kind of an early day 3 if you want that skill set of like Kenyon Sadiq or Eli Stowers. He's that kind of guy. You watch Michael Trigadol from Baylor. He's another pure receiving tight end that's in that range, but he's more of like a jump ball, 50-50 ball guy. My tight end, though, is Oscar Delp. And I've been talking about Oscar Delp since we started this offseason, and he was a projected like fringe 150 pick. And I said, he's going to go up. Just wait. People will realize. And then he hurt his foot at the combine and couldn't run. And people were sending me mock drafts where he's in the 4th and 5th. And then his combine, or I should say his pro day, was one of the biggest stories in the NFL this week. And now they're talking about him as a second-round pick.
It's like that. You done put the spotlight on him now. He's not going to be there.
No, he's not going to be there on day 3. 6'5", 245, ran a 4.48.
Jesus.
With a 38-inch vertical. One of the better blocking tight ends in the draft, too.
Yeah.
This is the guy for me. Like, it's him or Sam Roush, but it's really the Georgia tight end thing. Maybe I'm helmet scouting a little bit. So be it. There's worse things to be than a Georgia tight end. Like, everybody, welcome to the Oscar Delp party. Like, welcome on the bandwagon. This dude can freaking play. I would love to see the Patriots end up with him. He's like the exact tight end I think the Patriots need to be looking to add. And he's a little raw. Georgia didn't involve him as much as he should be involved at the NFL level, but you still have Hunter Henry. So you don't need him to be as involved as much right away. But he's not a true tight end, too, either. He's a guy that I think can grow into that role in a year or two whenever, Hunter Henry's time with the Patriots ends, and he's in his 30s and on an expiring contract. It's something to think ahead about.
Yeah, and I think the tight end position, we keep talking about receiver depth, receiver depth. If they find a way to get that production and depth from the tight end spot, I think you're really cooking. I think that if you can land a kid that could potentially, I'm not saying not any particular guy, but a Pro Bowl caliber tight end in this offense, I think would do wonders for Drake May and everybody else. And I think that's the missing component here. Yeah, you can get 5 great wide receivers, but I think what you have now, if you add A.J. Brown, you put a good tight end, not saying Hunter Henry's not good, but like you mentioned, his age, a good young tight end around him.
A guy that can build with Drake May long term.
Right. I think that's the key to this whole draft. And last year, this year, and going forward is finding young guys to build around Drake May that can grow with him. You get a young tight end that you can do that with, you're really going to be rolling because now you can be a dynamic team in many levels. Your run game, your tight end, and then on the outside at receiver. And I think the tight end position, I think we're overlooking it too much. I think that's a real position of need, I think, going forward for this team. They can land somebody like Oscar Delp. The jerseys will fly off the shelves. That dude he's fun to watch, man.
Let's go to Patty in Agawam. Patty.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you?
Good.
So I had a couple things I wanted to go over. The very first thing is just to kind of piggyback off of what Randy in Providence said. I think it's kind of a dangerous game to put all your eggs in the A.J. Brown basket. Because at the 11th hour, let's say it's after June 1st, you don't know if Howie Roseman, if they, like all these reports are saying they had a handshake deal in place for, like you said, Alex, maybe a second and fourth. What happens if at the 11th hour he's like, no, you know what, I want a first-round pick in 2027, and those talks fall apart again? A guy that Deshaun brought up is Stribling. I know they had him in for 30 visit, and, he doesn't have wide receiver one upside, but maybe maybe you get him on day 3 and he can be that sacrificial X and you have another body at that position so you're not going into 2026 kind of with your pants down because you did put all your eggs in A.J. Brown's basket. Now, the guy I wanted to talk to, one of my draft crushes, Alex, I was on him earlier too, but Jennings Dunker, I think if they can move around the board and possibly pick him up in the second round, I think he's a guy we're going into next year. Michael Nwenu's playing on an expiring contract. We all know the age and the health status of Morgan Moses. We got very lucky, as you like to say, last year with injury luck, but he could kind of be the guy in waiting if you don't want to make that commitment to Michael Nwenu moving forward. And if something happens with Morgan Moses during the course of the season, you can slot him in at right tackle and have him play a couple games because that was his college position. And, I mean, he doesn't have the biggest arms, but he does have, I think, 33 and a quarter arms. So it's not like, you're having to move Elijah Vera Tucker over to the right tackle, who has a smaller frame, a smaller wingspan. And I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that. And, Alex, just a fun little exercise. Our guy Sam Roush, go look at his family lineage of athletic.
Yeah, he's got like a bunch of NFL. I was actually just looking at that. I don't have it off the top of my head.
It's crazy.
He comes from a pretty crazy football family. Thanks for the call, Patty. Jennings Dunker, I really like Jennings Dunker. I don't know how he fits in the Patriots picture. A top 50 pick on a guard who might not play this year. And there's some athleticism questions about him at tackle. It's not about the arm length. I don't know about that. I will say on Dejon Stribling. So, first of all, this happened like 3 times this week. So I'm just going through some players. I don't know why I pick players in the order I do. I just do. It probably would make more sense to go by position or go by like the consensus board or whatever. But I just kind of, this is who I like. I do mock drafts and I'm like, I need a receiver here. I'm not familiar with any of the receivers in this range. Let me look at him. So I'm watching Adam Randall, who we talked about last week, but I was looking at a little more. And I'm like, nobody's talking about Adam Randall. This is kind of wild. And then like 2 days later, the Patriots have him in for a 30 visit. And then I'm doing safeties, and I'm looking at Zakee Wheatley, who's a safety from Penn State, who's like a fringe top 100 pick. I haven't really heard a lot about this guy, but I could see him as a Patriot safety. 2 days later, comes in for a visit. I think it was like the next day. So then Wednesday night, I'm doing some work, and I end up watching Dejon Stribling. And he's not, I don't think he should be a first-round pick. Like, he's a little bit older. He played in a fluky offense. Doesn't have a ton of wiggle. But for what he is, it's like 6'2", 6'3". I'm trying to pull up his size here so I get it right. 6'2", 207. Ran a 4.3 640 with a 36-inch vertical. He had a good year as the number 1 receiver at Ole Miss last year. Played big in the big games. Like, played his best against the good teams, which I think matters. Yeah. And he's, for his size, he's got really good body control, good hands. He can create a little bit after the catch. Again, nobody's going to mistake him for Pop Douglas, but that's not his game. And I'm looking at this, and I'm like, how have I not heard more about this guy? And I go look at the consensus board. He's down at like 160. I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I'm texting people, if you watched him, what am I missing? It was like last year with Kyle Williams, before the Senior Bowl. I'm like, is this guy made up? Did he go back to school? Why am I seeing him so low on the consensus? So I was all confused about what am I missing with Deshaun Stribling? Mm-hmm. And then the next day, the Patriots and like a host of other teams announced they're having him in for visits, and suddenly everybody on Twitter's talking about him. I kind of like Deshaun Stribling. And the thing for me with Stribling, to the caller's point about A.J. Brown, he's the perfect mix between, and maybe this annoys some people, like he can't split hairs this way, but if you draft him, and he's probably going to go 4th round, maybe late in the 3rd, maybe at 96, but he's probably like in that 125, 131 range where the Patriots have 2 picks. I don't think he's not a guy that has to be on the field right away if you're using that kind of asset on him.
Yeah.
And he is somebody that you could maybe bury a little bit at first and could develop. But also, he's an older prospect. He's 24, which is maybe part of the reason he's going later, but he's a little more developed. And if you don't get A.J. Brown, he is still somebody you might get something from, and he profiles a little bit similarly to A.J. Brown in terms of the skill set, not the talent level, but the skill set.
Size, everything.
He makes sense for me. If they're saying we want to go receiver, but not at the top, right? Like we were talking earlier, there's a lot of guys in this room. I usually hate the middle of the draft receiver because, another wide receiver 2 or 3, like what are they going to do with that guy? Stribling does things they don't currently have on the roster. So I'm in on the idea of Deshaun Stribling. He's a fun player to me for the Patriots.
To your point, playing big in the big games. His biggest game of the season was against Georgia. That was his best game.
Yeah.
So if you can light up a Georgia defense and then you follow that up, he had 200 yards, I think, total against Georgia and Miami, not combined in those 2 games. 12 catches, 200 yards against Georgia and Miami. Those are the best 2 defenses that any receiver could really face. And he got off and got his numbers against those teams. So he can play in big games, big moments against good competition. We mentioned the kid from Louisville really didn't face a ton of good defenses all season.
Right.
He gets hurt, but there's a lot of guys who are really high on a lot of people's draft boards, receivers, who didn't deal with the best. They just didn't have the best defenses facing them. They played in offenses. They threw it 50 times a game. So it's really hard to judge. And that's probably why you said he slipped down the board. How come he's not on anybody's board? Because they're a lot of people looking at these guys that are not would say Texas Tech guys who are known for having crazy numbers. I would say inflated numbers, playing crazy offenses and things like that. But usually these guys in the SEC playing against good defenses and they put up good numbers in these big moments, in these playoff moments. I think you got to kind of keep an eye on a guy like that. And if he's got that kind of size, very intriguing player. And you're wondering, okay, if Drake May is really him, could he be the tide that raises all ships and puts this guy in another level that no one can really see coming, which a good young quarterback can do?
Yeah, so again, I understand why he's not going to go higher, and he's not a perfect prospect. He's a little bit older. He's really played in gimmicky offenses most of his career. Like the Ole Miss one kind of skews the production because of the way they use their wide receivers. Oklahoma State, too, where he was before. He's never had a 1,000-yard season, so he's not a wide receiver 1 by any means. But if you're going to take a shot at a wide receiver like early on day 3, I would rather him than just like the pure traits guy of Jeff Caldwell, because I think his game, Stribling's game, is more developed, and he's going to come in more ready to make plays. We got to hit the break. When we come back, I see you guys lining up on the phones. 617-779-0985. To your draft guys next.
Stay tuned for more Sunday Kickoff on the Sports Hub. Boston, get in the...
You heard it there. Made the move to running back. Great athlete. Obviously, you could do a ton of fun things with him out of the backfield. Given his wide receiver background, you just got to kind of learn how to play running back. And that's, patience, field vision, pass protection, things like that. But you get Josh McDaniels, a guy like that, like the comp, the very basic comp is Cordero Patterson.
Mm-hmm.
But you get Josh McDaniels, a guy like that on the ground floor, and he's supposed to go like late day 3. You get him with one of those 6-round picks. And the Patriots, he was at Gillette Stadium for a meeting. Like, I'd like to see what Josh McDaniels could do with him. Not a bad flyer.
Yeah, I think they need a guy like that. I think they need a versatile guy out of the backfield that you can put all over the place. Once you flex him out, he knows what to do when he gets on the outside, that's for sure. So, I mean, you're not worried about that part of it. But, yeah, once you learn to play running back and they get him in here and give him several months at it, see if he's ready to go by training camp or by the start of the season, you might have a little something back there. But, yeah, you take a absolute swing on a guy like that. I think those kind of players along with tight end, I think are the little wrinkles that this team needs to not really take. I mean, they scored 27 points a game last year, but to be a more dynamic and balanced offense that's not as predictable like they got kind of late in the year.
All right, let's go to the phone. Some of the guys you out there are interested in the draft. Vic in Virginia. Vic.
Hey, what's going on? I got 2 guys. I got Denzel Boston in the first round, and then anywhere between 4 and 7, Bauer Sharp, tight end out of LSU. He was a quarterback that came in. I feel like that could be a good sleeper pick.
All right, so Denzel Boston is a first-round pick. We've talked a lot about him. Kind of big, go-up-and-get-it guy who, like, he's that traditional outside X. He's not as dynamic of an athlete as Jordan Tyson, so that's what you're trading off. That's why he's supposed to go later, but if you want a jump ball guy for Drake May, that's your guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bauer Sharp from LSU is converted quarterback, like the caller said. He's still kind of learning the position. He's got to bulk up more, especially to be a blocker. I think he's a projected UDFA. I'm looking at the big board here. That is definitely a my guy kind of guy at 331 on the big board. That is more the spirit of this exercise. I will be honest, I'm familiar with him from watching LSU. I haven't seen a ton of him in terms of pre-draft. He was at the combine, but if you want a real project, I will always have a soft spot for players who are converted quarterbacks, whatever position they move to, because you just see the game in a different way. And I think there's value.
Yeah.
And Jacoby Myers was my proof on that. Once Jacoby Myers worked out, there was no coming back for me for this take. Nothing against Jacoby Myers, but former quarterback, and you could see it in his game.
He sees, you see it different. He sees the field different.
When you watch Jacoby Myers, you see the quarterback in him. And I'm still chasing the next guy that's like that, whether it be at receiver, at tight end. There was a corner a couple years ago who's a converted quarterback. There's some safeties that do that. Jacob Rodriguez, linebacker in this draft. Mm-hmm. I think it can work on defense too. I'm all for the converted quarterback. So you tell me guys a converted quarterback, sure, put him on the list. I'm interested. I will check him out more. Jeff from Rhode Island. Jeff.
Hey, good morning, guys. How you doing?
How's it going?
Hey, a quick question, and I'm kind of continuing the theme of one of the previous callers with the offensive line, particularly that right side. A couple years ago, we drafted Caden Wallace. The personnel folks made a rather curious decision to flip him from right tackle to left tackle, gets injured, comes back, and now they're still talking about a left guard. I mean, they picked him in the 3rd round. Was he not at least a right tackle prospect in round 3? And why are we shying away from or not looking at him to either shore up Moses or even Owenu on that right-hand side, considering where he was picked, where he went to school, who he played with? I'll let you answer here. I'll hang up. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Jeff. Look, it's a good question. I've seen a lot of people have this question. So to caller's point, they drafted Caden Wallace, 3rd round, 68th overall in 2024, and he had only played right tackle. I think he played a little bit of right guard, but he basically only played right tackle in college. Mm-hmm. And when they drafted him, they said, we think he has the athleticism to play left tackle. That was the year they did not have a left tackle going into camp.
Yeah.
They really didn't. Vidarian Lowe, we weren't sure what he was. Chukwuezekorfor had only played on the right side. And then it was Caden Wallace, and that was kind of it. And they really didn't have anybody. And it felt like maybe they were scrambling a little bit. So he didn't have it at left tackle. You know, they had some injuries on the right side. They put him there. He got hurt. He missed a lot of time. He came back. He played more right. And then the new coaching staff comes in and moved him right to guard. He really didn't play any tackle last year. Some of that might be athleticism. I wouldn't hate giving him another look at right tackle, but they seem to think he's a right guard. I'll add to that. He now hasn't played it in a year. He hasn't played it in this system. That was for a different system. That was for different priorities with the offensive line. You know, I think there's probably a better chance that Marcus Bryant is that guy you're talking about if they have an internal pipeline right tackle. Whether it is Bryant or Wallace, I think they should bring in more competition. The other thing I'll add, and I don't know, some people might hear this as an excuse. I'm just going to explain it because we talked about this at the time. Caden Wallace was not a projected third-round pick. Caden Wallace was supposed to go like early day 3. But what happened was, if you remember that year, so that was the year it was like Joe Alt, J.C. Latham, Olu Fashanu at the top. There was this crazy run on tackles in the second round. Patrick Paul.
You had to do something.
Blake Fisher, Roger Rosengarten, the guys that were supposed to go around pick 68 all started flying off the board. And this was the second guess at the time was it's not they didn't like the Caden Wallace pick. They took him higher than they should. It's that they should have recognized the run and moved up. In the 13 picks before Caden Wallace went, there were 6 offensive tackles.
Yeah.
And they just sat at the end of the run. And then after Wallace, you had, I remember Delmar Glaze was I think the next tackle or 2 tackles after Wallace within 10 picks. He was supposed to go like in the 150s. And he went in the 70s because there were not enough tackles and there was a run. So that's why that happened. Or at least I don't know for sure. I wasn't in the room, but if you wanted to tackle, it kind of became, hey, you got to take somebody now because these guys are going much earlier than they're supposed to. And then this coaching staff moved him into guard. Now, could we talk about him as maybe the next guard and maybe he has Mike Onwenu's job covered? That could be a conversation. I haven't seen him enough at guard to really know. I don't think he's a bad player. I don't think he's somebody that shouldn't be in their future plans. It just might be more at guard than tackle.
Yeah, is there a position you could see that happening with this year in this year's draft? Where out of nowhere, you just see a heavy run on players and you have to think on the fly here and make a move. Could
see
you
one,
see
pick
one
one?
of these positions? Go ahead.
Yeah, tackle. It happens every year. Every year the tackles go earlier than we think because there's not enough good tackles and teams are desperate. It can always happen at tackle. Cerrone. So the projected first-round tackles right now are, and this is mostly right tackles, by the way. Maui Goa from Miami. I butchered that. I'm sorry. Spencer Fano, Monroe Freeling, Caden Proctor, Caleb Lomu, Blake Miller. Or actually, let me stop after Lomu. Those are like the first-round guys. Blake Miller and Maxi Hennichor are like fringe first, second. They'll probably go in the first because of this theory, but projected first, second. So on the big board right now, Hennichor is 38 on the consensus big board. Moving down from there, Jennings Dunker's the next listed tackle at 59. He's a guard. Caleb Tiernan is the next listed tackle at 73. He's a guard. Demetrius Crownover from Texas A&M is listed at 99. He's a tackle. So for true tackles, you're talking about a gap right now, according to the consensus board, from 38 to 99. Next up, 115, Brian Parker. He's a center. Next up, 125, Austin Barber. He's a tackle. Then 126, Isaiah World. He is a torn ACL. And just, I'll throw 2 more, Jude Lowry and Markel Bell kind of round out like the top 140, BC and Miami. And those guys are tackles. Like, so you're talking about if they start going, right? So Crownover right now is a fringe top 100 pick, but if Hennichor goes in the
40,
right? If Hennichor goes to the first round, are we not going to see a tackle on day 2?
Yeah.
So suddenly Demetrius Crownover goes 30 picks ahead of where he's expected. Well, now what does that mean for the next tackle and the next tackle? Because there's not enough, and that's just how that position goes. If there's another position, I could see it happening where teams just start grabbing guys really early. Corner. Just because it's not a great corner draft. And maybe teams that need one kind of see. And there's some guys right now I just think are under-projected. Dalen Everett's projected outside of the top 100. He's a top 100 pick to me. Charles Demings, Ezekiel Massis, I think just the way they're talked about versus what you see, I think they go higher than expected. Thaddeus Dixon from UNC would be another one. So I think it happens with tackles every year. If I had to give you another position, I'd say corner could be one where we see guys go like notably higher than they're projected.
Yeah, it's just curious because you hear the conversations about this draft not being a strong draft compared to next year, and it's every time we hear that, there always seems to be a run on a specific position. I know everyone's looking at defensive end edge, but everyone's projecting those guys to be high, and that's why I figured I'd ask you what other position you think would guys just go crazy for them, and it would make sense if everybody's getting all these edge rushers. Yeah. Somebody's going to need to protect the quarterback.
Block them.
So you got to block them. So let's go ahead and out there and snag up these tackles or whoever. Just show up our line if all these elite rushers are now being funneled throughout the NFL. We're going to have to protect our quarterback one way or the other. So that makes a lot of sense.
I will say this for the draft next year. We're going to do a quick 2027 draft take here before we wrap up. I've heard a lot of people hype it up. And, you can't.
Ways it strong.
You can't trade future picks. And, don't take this year because it's going to be a strong draft next year and all that. Look, the top, there's legit juice. Okay? Mm-hmm. The quarterbacks we will see, as always.
Always.
But Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams at wide receiver, Colin Simmons, Dylan Stewart at edge, Leonard Moore at corner, Coy Parrish at safety, like Ahmad Hardy at running back. These guys are ballers. But it's not like you're getting top 10 picks at 32. Mm-hmm. Those are going to bump some players down, but if the Patriots are picking high enough to draft any of the guys I just named, something has gone horribly wrong. You should not want the Patriots to be in the market. I would love to see Dylan Stewart here. Dylan Stewart rules. Maybe even more than Jeremiah Smith. Dylan Stewart is electric as an edge rusher. I don't want the Patriots to be anywhere near Dylan Stewart.
Yeah, that means 2026 was way off the rails.
Fluke. So, they should be focused on the Super Bowl, not the best outcome of the 2027 draft. That's where I'm at. But I will say, for what it's worth, the one exception might be tackle. The little bit I've heard is that there's not a lot of tackles in this draft. Really, offensive line as a whole. I think center is not supposed to be a good draft either. So,
will Arch Manning find his way to the top of this draft?
I'm not a big Arch Manning guy.
Neither am I.
I like Dante Moore.
It's already starting.
We'll see what happens with DJ Lagway. I may need to let that one go. He transferred to Baylor. He did not look good last year. Julian Sayin, I think, might be legit. And I know Ohio State quarterbacks and helmet scouting. But, his last name's Manning. Who knows?
Yeah. Lagway, I was not a fan. I'm not a fan of him at all.
I was
highly disappointed.
I love the makeup, and, he was playing as a true freshman, and I was just waiting for him to take the next step, and he still hasn't done it, and it's probably time to, that he's a junior now. I can't be like, he's a freshman. He's got time to learn. I don't know. But we should not be talking about DJ Lagway next year. We should be very solid in who we have. We will get back to the 2026 draft next week and all things Patriots offseason. If you missed any of the show, you want to check it out, Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff on the Sports Hub YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. I will have a new episode of the Patriots Hub podcast, too, tomorrow with Matt Dolph. That will be after the Boston College Pro Day. I'll have social media coverage of that. You can check out at Real Alex Barth, and, of course, plenty coming on 98.5, thesportshub.com. Cerrone, great stuff as always.
Yes, sir. Same news, man.
Garvin, good stuff. We got Matt McCarthy and Kendra Middleton coming up next, the Kids Table, here on the Sports Hub. Ton of fun coming up with those two. So make sure you stay tuned. Check that out. We'll be back next week. Talk to you then. Bye.
Boston Talk Sports.
Break me.
We all know what, but we won't